instant because Fannie couldn't buy riskier loans. Its share of countrywide business shark, according to an international Fannie Mae presentation in May 2002. Um, Fannie's bought more than 80% of countrywide mortgage by early 2005 that had shrunk to about 20%. This trend is increasingly costing us business with our largest customer. Another the presentation, the new doctor housing goals of the Bush administration also ratcheted up the pressure. How was Fanny going to achieve those goals without adding subprime mortgage to its books? The products it had carefully tailored for low-income borrowers were no longer appealing in world where those borrowers could get much bigger mortgage from a subprime originator by making up their income. But Fannie couldn't just headlong into the subprime market. Its system weren't able to outweigh the risk of subprime mortgage. We are not even close to having proper control process for credit, market, and operation risk, wrote the company's chief credit officer, Enrico Della Vecchia, in an email. The irony was painful. Hot had increased and tokened Fannie's housing goals at the price moment when the market was willing to make loans, often terrible loans that quickly showed, to be sure, to any low-income person who wanted one, the difference between what the market produced and what we had to produce grew bigger and bigger. Say a former Fanny executive, all these voices on the outside were saying you are not relevant, modulator regarded, and you have an obligation to be relevant. Fanny's traditional orange sun gave way. The angst mod wall later says that going to work felt like a choice between poking my eyes out and cutting off a finger. Fanny's internal struggles were of vivid display at a getaway for executives in the summer of 2005 in a Swedish hall entity. Facing strategic crossroads, the firm's question Fannis asked itself was, is the housing market overheated? The next question. Does Fannie Mae have an obligation to protect consumers? Executives debate whether the new dominance of subprime products was a permanent change or a temporary phenomenon. The presentation went on to lay out the two-star choice. Fannie faced on was to stay the course, which meant staying away from subprime lending and saying continued market share declines. The other, meet the market where the market is, which meant subprime. The presentation concluded on a plaintive note. Is there an opportunity to drive the market back to the 30-year FR fixed rate mortgage? Although the company vowed at the meeting to stay the course, in truth it had already begun to strike. First, they bought for their portfolios the safest subprime securities in the marketplace, the AAA rated tranches of residential mortgage-backed securities. Neither GSM ever bought. They began buying these securities in the early part of the decade because they offered decent yields But when the housing goals become harder to fulfill, the AAA trenches provided an easy way to meet their mission numbers. Eventually, the street began leasing a special trench that was packed with loans that satisfied the affordable housing requirements and had allowed the GCs to account these purchases toward their goals. Mm, Over time, Fannie and Freddie became two of the world's longest purchases of AAA trenches. In the park years of 2004, they bought about $1 billion in AAAs, or for 44% of market, while there were plenty of buyers for AAA rated securities. The very size of the GSA's purchase undoubtedly helped inflate the housing bubble. Putting AAA subprime securities on its book was like some of many others methods of meeting its housing goals. A stupid pet trick. I didn't help low income Americans buy homes because the GCs weren't determining which loans they would buy. They lost the opportunity to enforce any standards of the lenders. And as housing advocate Judy Kennedy points out, putting subprime securities on its book was a perversion of its affordable housing mission. From the government's perspective, GSA existed to buy up loans to poor and middle income borrowers, even if that come at the expense of its profits. By buying Wall Street securities, the Gates were able to earn more of a return on their affordable housing investments rather than less.